Welcome to Kickstarter Radio 1 and 2.4. I'm your host, Lipstickpaddy, and today I'm going to be talking about what is the biggest competition on Kickstarter or crowdfunding that people don't really think about. Because how many Kickstarters are you still waiting on? And let's just exclude any ones you've backed this year. I'm talking about games you've backed a year ago, 2 years ago, or even 3, maybe 4 years ago. You're all waiting for these still because of maybe they had a lot of stretch goals, like I explained in my last special program. I'll just put a link above about that one here if you've not seen it, because obviously massive stretch goals can really push and delay titles. But you know, some have been delayed because of COVID, and of course the shipping crisis has all led to delays. So what I'm trying to say here is, you know, if you've got, for example, Frosthaven backed, and you've got Madara waiting for the second and third act, you've even got Arceus, that's 3 dungeon crawlers that you're waiting to get delivered this year. Are you going to want to order and back another dungeon crawler on Kickstarter? Because it's not like Kickstarter has competition with other things on Kickstarter or for example on other sites like GameFound. It's the fact that they're in competition with games you've already backed and you're waiting on. And really, if you look at the amount of people that are on Frosthaven, on these games that are still waiting to be delivered, there's a lot of people. It's like ordering a pizza, and before the pizza arrives, you order a burger because the burger looks good, and you've got now 2 pieces of food coming, and are you going to want to order Kentucky Fried Chicken on top of that? Well, no, but I think because your appetite's going to, your appetite's going to be fulfilled. Your appetite's going to be fulfilled because you're so excited about these games you've backed. And let's just say I'm going to put a game on Kickstarter and it's a dungeon crawler. There's no way I would be putting it on until these games have delivered, because I want people to play these games and get that insatiable appetite for the genre once you finish with that game. If you finish Gloomhaven, you've got an insatiable appetite for another dungeon crawl. Frosthaven comes along and wow, you're going to get it. So the real insatiable hunger comes from when you've played a game in that genre and you are eager to put more of them in your collection or jump onto the next big game in that genre because you know you're going to love it. But it's not just dungeon crawls, we're talking about worker placements as well, aren't we? Now, worker placements, you might have Darwin's Choice, Endless Winter, these massive Euro games that have still yet to deliver. Maybe you've got them and it's stopping you really backing another big Euro game. What I'm trying to say here is, if you're bringing a game out on Kickstarter and there's these giant ones that are still pending delivery, you are limiting your backers because you're coming on Kickstarter too early when these games should have come out. We're in an interesting time now because of the delays and COVID. It's going to be a time that we're probably not going to see again in the future. But there's this massive backlog, and it's this backlog which is the big competition to Kickstarter, and why we're not seeing many backers on Kickstarter for titles, because they've just got so much coming. If I look at my list pre-2022, I've got 17 backed games yet to get delivered. It would have been 19. I actually got 2 delivered this week. Dinos Riding Dinos and Creature Comforts, both fantastic. But I mean, let's say you're bringing out a 100-hour campaign. This is a massive adventure game, possibly with a dungeon crawl element, which we're seeing with Malia, Lands of Legend on Kickstarter at the minute, looking very, very interesting. But what if you've got other campaigns coming? I've got Vampire the Masquerade Chapters. That's going to be a massive adventure. Massive adventure. That's going to soak up my appetite. I've got the Icefarian Guard coming. That's going to seriously mess up my appetite for getting more adventure games. And if we're looking at amazing games that you can play with your friends, we're talking like Everdell, Freedom 5, you know, these are massive juggernauts. And to back a game in these categories, you'd be scratching your head because, I don't know. You may have heard of the channels, for example, on Dice Tower, when they talk about, oh, there's so many games coming out at the minute. Like, well, there might be loads of campaigns going at the minute, but I've only backed 2 or 3 of them. And all the rest of them, forget about them. Like, I just don't have space for that. I need to satisfy my appetite by these games that when they deliver, and then maybe I'll be insatiable for another one from that category. And this is my next thing that I want to talk about. And when you've got like a category of games, let's say it's a fantastic Euro game, it's fantastic dungeon crawler, it's a fantastic adventure game. The problem is now, in the future, those games that you're backing, you are potentially going to hold back from backing other games because you know those companies are going to bring out something amazing. Yeah. Frosthaven, we know there's probably going to be another world of that. Do you really think that's going to stop with the amount of money that's coming? Gloomhaven, Frosthaven, there's going to be another Haven in the category. I can guarantee that. I can see it being a trilogy 100%. Can you see Icefarian Guard getting an expansion? Absolutely. Icefarian Guard's just in the north of the world. There could be 6 more Kickstarters covering the world design in that game. Vampire the Masquerade chapters. That's only chapter 1 that you're playing in a city. They've guaranteed there's going to be another chapters in another city. So that's going to be another game that you're going to want to pick up. Endless Winter, looking amazing. Well, they're doing the next game, the Endless Mine, what's it called? Editor, please put the box art up here. That game, that's looking like a Euro game also. So it's like you've got amazing games coming. You're loving what these companies are doing. You can't wait for the next game. You're not even thinking about other games on Kickstarter because you've already got these fantastic trust with these companies. Maybe that company's going to do a different game in a different genre that you're also hyped for. Arceus, coming from Ankema Games. The next game is going to be an amazing game based on the Battle Royale. And I can't wait for that. So, you know, it's like you're starting to trust these companies that you've backed. And that in itself is huge competition. It's like going to Gen Con 5 years ago. You're going there with, say, $300 to $500. But before you go to any place, you go into the Fantasy Flight place, aren't you? That's soaking up a lot of your money, perhaps, because that is the big competition in the retail. It would have been 5 years ago. But now, the big competition is going to be these giant companies that you've backed. And you trust from all their communication. Icefarian Guard, amazing communication, a guaranteed monthly roundup with potentially a video with the devs. We've got Vampire the Masquerade with fantastic communication, also with videos looking at how the production's going and the Q&A. Endless Winter, showing off all the process and explaining it as they go. Amazing stuff. Madara, amazing communication. And it goes on and on. So what the hell's going on with Kickstarter? Our own collection from Kickstarter is going to stifle the competition. That's what I'm saying here. We're coming to a state of play where Kickstarter games you might not be interested in if they're not coming from these companies. You know, we do have these mega fans of CMON that only back Zombicide games or anything CMON are doing. They're not looking at the other competition. They're not interested. They're completely happy with this one company. I'm saying that we all might become happy with the companies we've got great games from, especially if they've got another game coming. So all those retail games coming to Kickstarter, all those new indie titles coming to Kickstarter, trying to break their way into board gaming crowdfunding, they might be coming against a wall of competition, which is the mega backer, who's got games still waiting to be delivered, respects companies so much they are looking forward to what that company's going to be doing next, and frankly love how these companies, because a lot of these companies, like, you know, Frosthaven, you maybe been following Gloomhaven from the beginning. Madara, you may have been following from the beginning. Vampire the Masquerade, you might have been following from the beginning. I've not even mentioned Arena Tanaris Adventures. You might have been following that from the beginning. So you've seen these companies grow, and you've got like an investment in your time with these companies, and you have serious trust with these. This is what's holding you closer to these companies than the competition. So I think coming on to Kickstarter, if you're an indie game or a retail game, the one reason your game might not be getting backers in is because of this massive cloud of competition that may be invisible to those companies. So let me know what you think in the comments, peeps. Have you got a lot of games waiting? Are some of these games making you not look at genres coming on Kickstarter simply because you've ordered too many in that genre already? For example, adventure games, these giant campaign games. Are you beholden to certain companies and looking forward to see what they're doing next? Maybe they've hinted at it. You know, the Vampire the Masquerade, they're going to be doing a werewolf game. And of course another game in the chapter series. And I think the only window of opportunity people like me and you have is if a game comes out in a new genre which just blows you away. A bit like Beast from last year. That was an incredible Kickstarter. Absolutely amazing. So there we go. It's like if I have that genre on my shelf from a said company that I loved what they've done, what they've produced, dear me, I'm sorry, but that's going to be the way forward, I think. The competition is the game companies that you love and respect and trust, and all these new ones, unless they're completely innovating and doing something new in a genre, they might have thousands upon thousands of backers not even interested in them if they're not pushing the envelope, if they are not coming out of left field with something incredible. And really that's what Kickstarter should be. And it's going to have to return to that, to this amazing place on Kickstarter where innovation is second to none. That's the only way forward, I think, to get the hearts and minds of all these backers that are the mega backer. And it's the mega backer like me and you that is looking for that. And I think at the end of the day, we are blessed by incredible games, and that has tainted or potentially biased us from an artificial competition where we just have blinkers on and don't look at the other games in the genres out there. Love to know your thoughts on this. And what do you think about this concept of innovation and new, exciting things we've not seen before is the only way forward on Kickstarter. If they seem to be doing stuff that we've seen before, is that going to be enough? Is it going to be enough? Especially when the game companies that you've genuinely fallen in love with are bringing another game home. You know, potentially a sequel or something like this. Well, that's my 2 cents on this big issue of the real competition with Kickstarter. And really what it is, it's us, isn't it? Us backers putting up this shield of competitiveness from the companies we love or games we've backed already. Well, that's it for today. That's my special program today. Hope you enjoyed the content. If you do, please like the video and think about subscribing for all top stories and the top games on Kickstarter and all that. And please check out our broadcast podcast, which is a radio show with 50% music and 50% Kickstarter news. So I've been your host, Lipstickpaddy. This has been Kickstarter Radio 102.4. You take care, stay safe, bye-bye for now, and have fun with Kickstarter. Bye-bye.